as I said, that the SDGs and the role of the universities, as you probably have noticed, on my left, we want the angle of the students, because when you say the universities, we're looking at staff, we're looking at students. On my left, we've decided to take on Fred Auer. Fred Auer is now, he has transited from being a student to being a professor. Yeah, he's a professor in the university now. And he comes with him rich experience in leading students. So he'll be telling us at this symposium about the role of students in higher education in Africa in prosecuting the Agenda 2030 on the SDGs. Perhaps I should start from you, Fred. So Fred, you have the floor. You have 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes each. 4 minutes down the road, I'll let you know you have 1 more minute. Okay. I will come back to you later.
Thank you very much. Students actually constitute a very large portion of Africa's population. According to the African Union, youth are over 65% of the continent's population, and the bulk of them are students. So I think that I will speak from the experience of the All African Students Union. When we were there, what we did in order to consider the issues of the SDG. Now, every year, we looked at a team that involved students in looking at some of the key issues. For instance, last year, our team revolved around food security. That is in line with SDG 1. So the role of students in assuring food security in Africa. It was actually held here in Accra, Ghana. So all of the representatives of the students in Africa, student representatives gathered here, and we looked at the issues from diverse sub-regional perspectives. What are the issues of food threats in SADC, ECOWAS, the Central African region, Northern, and then I think Southern, like the 5 sub-regions. Now, the intention is that there is a need for an orientation from the student angle. So if we understand, we then go back to our various universities and campuses, orient our colleagues who are on the campuses so that they can also go back and then ensure that these are done. Now, in the issue of human security, in the year 2013, that is also in line with poverty, we considered it a very critical issue at the continental student level. So we had funding from the Rwanda government. So we held a continent-wide summit in Kigali, where we looked at human security and the role of the youth in Africa. Indeed, the realization is that wherever there isn't human security, perhaps if there is war, then tendencies are that there will be poverty. It is also important to inform that whenever there are issues of war, a lot of the persons that get involved are students and youth, because they have the energy to execute the agenda of the interest parties, a lot of times politicians. So we had a summit on human security from the student perspectives, and we had the responsibility as student leaders to sensitize our colleagues on the campuses whilst we went back. I should also inform that a similar program was held in Okebukola, Nigeria, on the issue of human and food security. On the issue of human and food security. And then His Excellency President Obasanjo gave us 10 slots, student representatives from all over the continent. Together with Nigerian students, we had a summit in Okebukola, and we discussed the issue of human and food security. These are all in line with the SDGs. One other critical issue that my outfit undertook when I was still in office was the issue of quality assurance in higher education. And that borders more on the issues we are discussing here, that is goal 4. it was the key theme that we ran for our summit in the year 2014. Quality assurance in higher education, the role of students. We believe that the approach should be bottom up. A lot of times the policies are made by people in high authority and we will have to obey. But we think that if we have a basic understanding from our level, then we can also harness our positive energies towards influencing policies that would inure to the benefit of the continent. 1 minute. So indeed what we did was get paper presentations not from professors, but students from Africa. The thing is, if there are quality assurance mechanisms that students do not understand, reality is that students will resist them. Because if you do not understand, there will be resistance. And it looks like on the face of the continent, those who have specialized in the act of resisting policies are students. So if we do understand, no, I am not part of them any longer. If they do understand, if students do understand, then it's obvious that policies will be done in a manner that will be acceptable to all. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Fred. We'll listen to from the side of the students, and you did very well when you were in office. So I'm sure your successors are carrying on with the great work that you do. Let's move to Sudan now. Sudan, like all the other countries, 55 of them in Africa, we have issues relating to poverty, that's goal 1, relating to goal 2, zero hunger, relating to goal 3 on health, relating to goal 4 on quality education, goal 5 gender equity, and all the others. So we'd like to listen to Sudan. Tell us how many higher education institutions you have in Sudan, if you can give us that figure, and how these higher education institutions can contribute towards attaining the SDGs by 2030. Please introduce yourself and share your thoughts with us in 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And actually, I'm pleased to be here to talk about what Sudanese universities have done so far to eliminate poverty, to create health situations, and quality of education, and to have gender equality and gender education also. I think that I'm not in the position to speak on behalf of all universities. I haven't been given I have been informed to come and talk about here about these things, but to the best of my knowledge, I will try to give some examples, and mainly the example of my university where I work. Actually, when I took over the Directorate of Quality of Assurance, I tried to inform myself of what had been going on in Africa. And luckily, I read about the SDGs and the last conference in Namibia, and I got informed about this. So we managed to have the first workshop 2 months ago in the university about the role of the university in sustainable development. And we invited people from Sudanese actually experts working in the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and in Sudan. And we involved certain colleges like College of Medicine, Pharmacy, Nursing, and others to attend that workshop. And we had these people spoke about the importance that the university should take the role of actually working hard for eliminating poverty and have good health, and harmonize the curriculum actually to the needs to eliminate these actually ills that cover Africa. I will give some examples of our university, how it is doing. Actually, when we talk about poverty and hunger, I think that's the same thing. If you eliminate if you teach the people to have food security, you are eliminating poverty and hunger also. Because poverty comes from, hunger comes from poverty. So what we are doing now, in our university we have annually 2 internships periods. In these periods, students go outside, visit the rural areas to make a contribution to the society. For example, the students of food production, we didn't call it the College of Agriculture. We call it the College of Food Production. Because now the university has a very big farm. In that farm, we produce so many things. We are actually a boarding university. We have about 15,000 students from 80 nationalities from Africa and Asia. We have 5,000 boarding students that live given free accommodation, free food, and some of them on scholarships. Actually, the feeding, all the food of the students come from our farm. We don't buy anything from outside. We are self-sufficient. And not only that, now we are producing for the market. We produce fruits, tomatoes. Actually, we are now having oil industry in the farm. We are raising cattle, chicken, poultry, and all these things in our farm. It's a big farm, and now we actually work with the government to give us another land in the north, about 2,000 acres, and now we are working with companies in order to run that farm also. So by doing this, our students, when they go out, so our students go out. We also have health missions, when the students of medicine actually go and give free medical checkup, free drugs. This is twice a year. We have this. All students are involved, and it is compulsory for any student studying in the International University of Africa to go on these internships. This is one reason. I think that also the University of Khartoum, the leading university, the oldest one, is doing. It is best to also participate in these efforts, and the government also is trying to do that. But I think that we have, as I said, for the 6 public universities, we have 39 private and universities and colleges. So we can do very much to help in that direction. And actually, I apologize, and I felt actually very. When I find myself, I only with my colleague Pfizer, we are representing Sudan. We should be the majority. I think that Nigerians are in the majority now. But I will hope that next time we have more people coming from Sudan. And not only that, inshallah, after hosting the coming conference in Mozambique, I think that the next one will be in Sudan, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sudan. If all universities in Africa were this university, what a food secure continent would have. Because what he has said is that, like Delta State University, you people there, if you are able to, you have a school of agriculture, don't you? If you are able to feed, you are not buying a piece or unit of egg from outside the university. One piece of tomato, not buying from outside the university. You are getting everything from your university and feeding yourself and also exporting, selling outside. This is very, very commendable. So all 85 universities in Sudan, except for 46 public, there's 9 private, and I think you're doing just right. So we move on to Mozambique, and Professor will share with us what Mozambique is doing. What are the good practices, what are the contributions that the higher education institutions in Mozambique are making on the march of Mozambique towards attaining the SDGs. Madam, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In Mozambique, we have a national program. We call this program 2025. We started this program in 2000. The first 10 years was focusing on fighting against poverty. In 2011, because this national program is replanning in 5 years. In 5 years, we have the national government program, which takes in account the national agenda 2020-25. So in 2011, we moved from fighting against poverty to developing Mozambique as a prosperous country, and sustainable development is a key word in this national program. Human capital is a key issue in the national program since 2000 in the first 5 years. Until now, human capital is key. So, higher education takes main role in assessing the national program and in guiding the implementation of this national program. A vice chancellor was appointed to be the president of the National Commission since 2000. I'm talking about Professor Lourenço do Rosário. This shows how Mozambique put higher education as a central sector to promote development in Mozambique. Last year, we organized a national conference on quality assurance. The theme was Quality Assurance and Sustainable Development in Mozambique. We believe that the world will attain the sustainable goals if each country concentrates their effort in attaining the objectives in national level. We elected areas to be strengthened in higher education in order to contribute with research, teaching and learning, and with community services. We elected education. We realized that in education, we have about 40% of graduates, but they were focusing in humanities teaching. So we have to invest in training for sciences. Agriculture is the main activity for development of Mozambique. But the statistics of 2015 shows that only 2% of graduates are in agriculture. Engineering is another area very important to develop infrastructure and energy. We, in the national program, elected infrastructure and energy as focus areas for the development, for sustainable development in Mozambique. So, if you want to be leaders in those areas, we have to invest in those, in training of engineers. And we realized that in 2015, only 4% of graduates were engineers. So the challenges for us is to strengthen those areas of training: engineering, health, and agriculture, to achieve better the sustainable goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mozambique. We applaud all that is happening in that great country, and we look forward by 2030 to hear that all the goals you have attained them. Yeah. So let's move to Nigeria and let's listen to the voice of 190 million people through the voice of a professor from the University of Jos. Yes. Nigeria.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity given to me to speak on SDGs as it applies to Nigeria, with particular reference to University of Jos. And I'm bold to also say that from Nigeria, probably Jos is the only university that is able to send out 3 people. Only University of Jos. Sending 3 people, which I have my chief librarian, okay, 4 actually. One from another center within the university, and then a professor from college. Thank you, sir. Regarding the SDGs as it applies to Nigeria, and with particular reference to University of Jos, I will speak on goals number 2, 3, 4, and 16. I think these are the ones that specifically probably University of Jos has cued in very well, and I think we are coming up in trying to fulfill before probably the SDGs, I mean before the target period. I'm sure would have gone far and then assist in achieving these goals. The first one is on hunger, that's the second one. Hunger meaning you are fighting food security, and food security will not be achieved unless you have a robust agricultural either faculty or setup within your establishment. And towards this regards, about the time the SDGs were being formed, we also quickly went to queue in and established 2 faculties. First one is Faculty of Agriculture, the second one is Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. And you know, both of them will complement each other. Agriculture for the food, veterinary medicine for the protein, the meat, and so on. And these 2 faculties have in their 3rd year now. It's a new one. I mean, both of them are new faculties. And the university is in the process of acquiring about 100 and something hectares of land for the purpose of integrated farming that will involve both the crop and animals. Now quickly, the second item that I want to speak on is health. That is number 3 SDG goal. Also, University of Jos, in its wisdom in the last 2 years, had developed a massive capacity building in collaboration with foreign hospitals where manpower was sent on training, and which we hope that centers of excellence in some of these specialties will come up. Some of these areas that health workers were sent for in the areas of IVF, that's in vitro fertilization, cochlear transplant, minimal access surgery, and nephrology. And I thought I was opportune to be among the IVF team that went to India. And we hope that when funds are available, we'll establish one. Now the 4th one that I want to talk about is gender equality for girls and women. And towards this end, a Center for Gender Equality has been established in the university with a professor heading. And I'm quick also to say that University of Jos is one of the universities that has queued into gender equality. Whatever we do, we always think about our women folk, in how we want to empower them, or want to bring them in. And also for the first time as a deliberate policy, probably we hope it continues. We're having first deputy vice chancellor as a female in our place, you know, coming up from the north. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to. My university is in the center of the country, But for the first time, I think we are having a woman as a deputy vice chancellor. And as I said, the Center for Conflict Management is manned by a professor lady.
1 minute more.
Okay, sir. Now the last one is on peace and inclusive governance. Again, just being at the heat, for those that are in Nigeria, at the heat of conflicts and crisis and so on, the university deemed fit to establish a center for conflict management, where postgraduate degrees are awarded, master's degrees are also awarded, and also another faculty, or another department actually, has also been established, that is criminology and security studies. Now these faculties that have been established and center, they've gone very far in trying to in the world. Thank you very much. Forgetting to introduce myself, my name is Professor MBT Umar, the Director of Academic Planning and Management, University of Jos. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Umar from University of Jos, and congratulations on the great things that we can hear and see that are happening in your university. So how come you didn't come with the Deputy Vice Chancellor's again? Because seeing is believing. We have 2 more countries to go, 2 more countries, but by the way, 3. There's a 3rd one which we just must listen to. That 3rd one is Burundi. And Professor Juma Shabani, who's our chairman, is already seated there. So after taking the 2 on this panel, we're going to ask Professor Juma Shabani to tell us what is happening in Burundi. Knowing that you, Juma, and the others gathered years back and he said the world should attain these targets by 2030. So what are you doing about it in your university? So we're moving on to Lesotho. Lesotho has a council for higher education. That council, as far as my assessment goes, is one of the strong up-and-coming regulatory agencies for higher education in the whole of Africa. I've been there twice, and I can see the vibrancy in terms of the operations of that council. I can see the support that the government of Lesotho is giving to that council, and I'm sure that the universities, the polytechnics, and other higher education institutions that CHE Lesotho is superintending will be on course to attaining the SDGs. So, Professor, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I think I need to start with a disclaimer, namely that I do not represent the institutions, but I work with the institutions closely, and I'm going to be sharing with you my expectations of what the institutions ought to be doing in order to attain the SDGs. First of all, we expect our higher education institutions in Lesotho to start developing new relevant programs instead of focusing on the humanities. I hope I'm not going to be misunderstood as if I'm saying I'm degrading the humanities. Also, they are supposed to maintain high standards in offering existing higher education programs. They are also supposed to take a lead in pursuing the SDG related projects. However, we have a number of challenges, and one of them is the underfunding of the higher education sector. In Lesotho, the government has to value basic education more than higher education. And as a result, our public institutions are struggling to survive. We always conduct our program reviews, and the program reviews will always lead to the review reports. The review report will in turn lead to the development of an improvement plan. And improvement plans have cost implications and the institutions are struggling to implement those improvements because of lack of resources. We also have a problem of lack of capacity on issues such as problem design. And we are addressing this because with the support of the Commonwealth of Learning, we'll be running a number of workshops where we take our institutions through a workshop designed to equip them with these strategies of developing programs or designing programs. Now, as for the intervention strategies that we think are appropriate, I think we need a lot of advocacy when it comes to the funding of the higher education sector compared to other sectors. I think we'll benefit more from success stories. What are the success stories of situations where governments have invested heavily in the higher education sector, and we have this has triggered of economic growth? I think we need that, and we need a bit of convincing as a country. We also need to continue to build capacity of our own institutions in the issues of program design, quality assurance, and so on. Another important event that is coming up in Southern Africa is the Southern African Quality Assurance Network Conference, which we propose to be holding, or will be holding, in November 2018. And our theme will integrate quality assurance and attainment of the SDGs. I would like to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lesotho. Thank you. We're taking on Zimbabwe, and we have a Vice Chancellor from one of the leading universities in Zimbabwe to share with us what is happening in that great country and in her university. Let me put some people on notice. Two people. You see, at the beginning of the millennium, the world got together and set Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, which expired 2015. And when the report card of all the 190-something countries was being read out, African countries didn't do as well. Now, the world got together again and set SDGs. About 2030, we should attain goal number 1, no poverty, goal number 2, 0 hunger, number 3, number 4, number 17, all of that. So I'm going to ask two people. One is our landlord and our chief here, that's Professor Attaining. I want you to tell us, do you really think, in all honesty, at the pace Africa is going, that we will be able to meet all of the SDGs, or we'll be able to meet maybe half of them or 3/4 of them? I tell you something, the MDGs, by the time we looked at them, if you took a mean in terms of performance, I think African countries just sustained getting about 45%. So now we have SDGs, many more than the MDGs. Can we get them? So I'm going to ask two people. I'm going to ask the AAU Secretary General. I'm going to ask Dr. Ioannis from African Union. You will not talk from African Union perspective, personal. Do you think we will attain these goals? So after listening to everybody, I'll then request to you. Do you think we'll attain these goals? Do you think, well, what do you think we can do to be creative, create some innovation, some creativity, something outside the box that you need this conference to recommend that will enable African countries, attain more than we anticipate that we will go. So let's get on to Zimbabwe. Vice Chancellor, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm acting Pro Vice Chancellor.
Yes, can you follow the microphone? Microphone, please. Press it.
Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Professor Doreen Moyo, the acting Pro Vice Chancellor, Research and Academic Affairs. In the 17 years my university has been in existence, there have been no women in positions of leadership. I'm the first acting.
Yeah, so you have met goal number 3 of 100%.
And I'm not the only one. The new Vice Chancellor has ensured that even deans, we have now a good cohort of females. We are addressing the gender equity SDG. In Zimbabwe, there are 18 universities, 12 public and 6 private universities. When we have got a national agency, the Zimbabwe Council for Higher Education, that regulates our activities, that monitors quality issues. As a country, we have 13 million people, and 90% of them are not employed formally. They are under informal employment, small, medium enterprises. So as a universities, we are mindful of human capital development, whereby we want to produce graduates that will not only be formally employed, but that can create jobs. So entrepreneurship is entrenched in all our programs. We want to make sure that we also create jobs. We also want to ensure that we have relevant programs that will result in a creation of employment, programs that are not only for now, but a project into the future. We know that we are in a digital era, so even the jobs, the programs that we are coming up with, they should be addressing the new era that we are living in. As a country, we've undergone transformation in our Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, whereby our minister is saying that each university should have 4 core areas: culture and heritage, technology, medicine, and engineering. So in all our programs as a universities, we must ensure that we've got all those 4 areas. And again, STEM is supposed to underpin all our activities. We are mindful that from STEM, that's where we get innovations, that's when we can get high-end skills that are necessary for the era that we are living in. The research that the universities are also doing are supposed to be in line with national aspirations. We have got a national agenda that has been entrenched in the strategic plans of the universities. And these plans also entrench the SDGs. The research that is conducted should offer solutions for the nation as well as the needs of our communities, and it should lead to economic growth. So issues of innovations, patents are being prioritized. There's one university in Zimbabwe that has 13 patents registered, which is quite good. Others are still in the process of acquiring patents. And when it comes to research, we are also interested in linkages with industry and commerce. Yes, our industry is currently down due to the economic challenges that we are facing, but those industries that are viable, we are working with industry. There are so many challenges, so the universities approach the industry. We call for workshops where they are involved, and they tell us their needs, and as universities, we then go ahead and conduct research on their behalf.
1 minute more.
Okay, thank you. And then we are also looking at harmonization of the curricula. All these universities want to make sure that we have the minimum pot of knowledge so that the graduate is versatile, the graduate can have easy mobility, not only within Zimbabwe, also within the region. And then we have gender, entrepreneurship, and ICT that is common in all undergraduate programs. And we also have work-related learning that is part of the training program for undergraduate students, whereby the 10 months on attachment in a working environment, we want to marry theory and practice so that they are highly skilled and acceptable by the market. And then to reduce inequality within countries, what we are doing, we are aligning not only to our own Zimbabwe Council for Education quality standards, but those for the region and for the continent as a whole. So as a country, we are addressing all the SDGs. Each university has its own mandate, and they address the SDG that is relevant to their mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can see, as I said, wonderful things are happening in that university, which is representative of what I believe is the case for all the universities and higher education institutions in Zimbabwe. As he was speaking, the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Zimbabwe Council, the regulatory agency, Dr. Ibringawe, was nodding, agree with all that he said, that's applying to all the other universities in Zimbabwe. So let's turn now to Burundi. Professor Bani, you can use the dates over here. And in 5 minutes, tell us what is happening in the University of Burundi and with regard to implementing the SDGs in that country. Juma, 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I should like to say that in Burundi, SDGs in education was really not considered as an issue up to very recently. Recently, since a few years, we are implementing the so-called LMD reforms, which is mainly in Francophone, but also harmonizing with Anglophone. So, as part of the reform, we launched very recently a doctoral school, and this was done through an international conference which was chaired by the second vice president of the country. Now, one of the themes was the role of research and development in contributing to the implementation of the SDGs. And we had case studies from several countries, Nigeria, Kenya, Zambia, Tanzania, and so on, where we were able to see what they are doing and how this could be adapted to the case of Burundi. So now the Vice President has set up a committee to follow up on that conference. And one of the decisions is that no program will be accredited if there is no clear link to the SDGs.
Wow.
So that is, I think, a major achievement through research, of course. Then the SDG 4 on education, there is a special program which has now been set up to provide pedagogical training to those who are teaching in secondary schools. Because people are just going there and teach, there is no training or retraining. The other important reform is within the East African community. As I said the first day, there is now the East African higher education area where we need now to harmonize our programs, harmonize quality assurance mechanisms, and again at that level, there are clear instructions which were set, were clear decision taken by the summit, and where the Inter-University Council for East Africa is mandated to make sure that all harmonization system programs, all the harmonization process is done, taking into account that the programs will also be responsive to the SDGs. So we have at least now those two mechanisms which will make sure that these SDGs will be ready on the center of the implementation of research programs and also teaching and learning. Another development is that since the end of last year, in Burundi we established the Burundi Academy of Science and Technology. And as one of the activities of the Academy, we are planning a meeting in November to follow up on that conference which was used to launch the doctoral school. So the main theme there will be what should be the role of the Academy in also helping the country to achieve the SDGs. And of course the conference will be organized in collaboration with the University of Burundi, because most of the members, yes, most of the members of the Academy are also professors at the university. So there will be this synergy to make sure that both the university and the Academy collaborate to make sure that these programs are revisited to be responsive to the SDGs, and also they will contribute to the implementation at national level. The meeting will also involve the Minister of Planning, which is in charge of planning the development for the next 5 years.
Thank you very much, Professor Shabani. Thank you. If there is one thing that I will have extracted from this conference, it is what is happening in Burundi, what Professor Shabani has just said. That is, for every program, if AUC, you go out to accredit a program in Delta State University or in Abraka, you then, because you're sitting close to me, you will expect that university or University of Port Harcourt to show a link between that program and the attainment of the SDGs. And show, not just theoretical, show me how you are progressing towards that, and attach the appropriate SDG to it. Just like in Sudan, the agriculture, or let's even take just Faculty of Agriculture, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. So you got to let me know when I come to do accreditation there, what's your productivity that is leading towards attainment of goal number 2. So I think that's very good, Professor Shabani, I must commend you. So we are wrapping up this segment and going on to the last phase, which is, can we get there? And I'd like to do a short exercise with all of you. And I'll give you an example. If I say goal number 1 is no hunger, do you think that Africa is 17 years from now, that only that time it will be almost like 1.6 billion people in Africa, there will be no hunger there? So just let me know, just shout it in a little way, tell me about, say 2%, that by 17 years we'll have attained only 2% or 5% or whatever. So let's go. Goal number 1, no hunger. Pardon? No, percentage, give a percentage. 50%. We'll have attained 50%. 17 years from now. 10%. 17 years from now. 50%. 60. Oh no. Even now, almost 70% are below poverty. Okay, 5%. Zero hunger, everybody will be. 0 hunger, no, there must be some. 5%. Okay, fine, let's just go on. Goal number 3 is good health and well-being for all 1.6 billion Africans 17 years from now. 20%. Okay, quality education. Gender equality. Clean water and sanitation. Goal 7, affordable and clean energy. Nigeria go energy. 8, decent work and economic growth. 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. 10, reduced inequalities. 11, sustainable cities and communities. 12, responsible consumption and production. 13, Dr. Michael, where is there? Climate action. 14, pardon? 5%. 14, life below water. 15, life on land. 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And 17, partnerships for the goals. So what I can hear is that we will be very, very far from attaining these goals. So I'm going to now turn to my 2 experts. AAU, sir, what are your thoughts on this? You are going to use that podium, sir. You are going to come to that place. Okay. Yes, and then Dr. Ioannis, you're also going to share with us what are the impediments and how can we break the backbone of these impediments using higher education as a plank. So that's where we're going to be anchoring this. Professor Chile Hile, Secretary AAU, you have the floor. In 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Peter. The experience of MDG are available. Yes. And we can realize that most of the country were not even able to meet 1/3. Now, SDGs have started since a while. But why some countries are trying to do something to meet the targets, what are other countries doing? They have put emphasis on other things because their concern are elsewhere. And I think that all success is based on the willingness And as far as countries would not put emphasis on higher education, which is the basis of all development, like my friend here said, we will not move anywhere. We need to sensitize our leaders for an ownership of these SDGs. If not, I don't think we will get anywhere. This is my own opinion. Because most of the time, things became like slogan. But the steps to implement something concrete, most of the time we don't see anything. In any country, they will say, youth, future of tomorrow. But this youth should be trained in such a way that they can become the future of tomorrow. But if there is no mean, no appropriate mean to train this youth, where will they get in the future?
1 minute more.
So I think I would stop there.
Thank you very much, Secretary General AAU. Now we're moving on to Alice, and come with me on Ethiopian Airlines ET901. That's going to take us to Alice. Dr. Yohannes, you're on the floor for just your personal thoughts in 4 or 5 minutes.
Thank you, Peter, and nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, when we see in the Millennium Development Goals, I said there were no good achievements, but there were also good achievements in some countries, especially in the universal primary education and mortality rate of and so on. But that Millennium Development Goal has been good to take any exercise and so on. Now, when I see how we approach to the Sustainable Development Goals, first, the last 15 years and the next 15 years are not the same in many aspects. It's more in a pace and so on. And in my opinion, and in African Union opinion also, we have to be optimistic, but also pragmatic. But in a sense, when you see that there are many good positive things that we see in Africa. For example, the increasing development, economic development, rapid growth in Africa, there is more. And the youth, of course, Professor Hele said, yes, the youth is a very problematic thing if we don't address it, but it's also a very good opportunity if we see, and the democratic dividend in empowering the youth is one big agenda in many countries. In many countries, like for example in Mozambique, countries put it, I can say from Ethiopia, Sustainable Development Goal is there. So there is really a political commitment, and governments knew all. If they don't work to have skill evolution in the youth, they'll have a problem. Then they will be more sensitive because the youth is really the most dangerous part for the political government, and they will not compromise. So in that aspect, Africa has so many opportunities. Wealthy countries, there are so many things, so I see more opportunity. For example, the example from Sudan is there. And this will tell us, for example, in the direction of the African Union, the next big drive also will be this concept of developmental universities. Universities has to contribute to the national, regional economic development. Then the relevance will be will be in fashion. And when it comes to education, for example, the CESA, the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, is there to contribute to sustainable development for. And as you, Peter says, education is overall, and whenever you have to do it, it impacts on all activities. So, in that sense, for Continental Strategy, it's, if you say it is 2025, but the development goal is 2030, and we think that the 5 years will also to get to take the...
Yeah, 1 minute more. Yeah.
Good. And in that one, so the focus on skill building, but of course the peace is very important in Africa to implement this conflict resolution, and peace is to be done. But more or less, if I see, and personally I believe that I'm more optimistic, Africa has more chance, not 100%, but a pass mark over 50%.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Johannes. I have 10 minutes to close this session. According to our program, it's to run for 1.5 hours, but as I said, we'll just do it for 1 hour to take care of Professor Ibida Kobe and Dr. Mandela, who, on account of flight challenges, couldn't join us when they were scheduled. So we will ask anybody from the audience to share their thoughts with us on this theme, which is role of higher education. I can see 50 hands are up already, but don't worry. Everybody that has raised this on hand will be given a chance. But what you should do for us is just limit your intervention to 1 minute, maximum 1.5 minutes. And just trust me, if you go beyond that, I will just will be interrupting you. SG wants to start. Yeah. Yes. SG, yes. 1 minute now. Yes. You have 5 minutes before. 1 minute, 1.5 minutes.
Yes, he's on 1 minute.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. From the delivery of a panel, I would like to ask a question to ASU representative.
Yes.
My friend from Zimbabwe said, no peace, no development.
That's correct.
But when we take a glance on West Africa higher education institution, you can see that the strike, student strike, is the common challenge.
Yeah.
And the impact of these strikes are many. So how to go about this issue?
Okay. No. Just we could just make it up. Now the way I want to go is this. I'm going to go. I only, in Africa you must give the right of way to your elders. That's right. I want to go from my right as from your left to here. So I'm starting from this side. Yes, Colin. Please keep it to 1 minute, sir.
Yes, sir.
You took it about discipline. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So I look at these goals. I think goal 16 said peace, justice, and strong institution. I want to believe that. I don't know the order of priority, how these things are arranged. Because yes, quality education is very important, but I think we need to have a secured society first before any other thing can follow. So I want to believe that.
That's a military calling.
Yes, sir. No, sir. So what I wanted our high institutions to do is just like what we are suggesting, that some of these regulatory bodies should include in some of our GNS courses the sensitization of security issues as part of the way to develop, to sensitize all our youth for the strike and probably for any other security challenges that may come. I think it is important we do that so that we can address that. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping within 1 minute. Yeah. Just go to the next person. Madam, please introduce yourself as we go along.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Sunjun Adelego. Yes, in Waska.
From where, madam?
Okay. I'm from Waska. I'm from Nigeria, but I work in Ghana for Waska. Waska is West African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adapted Land Use.
Thank you, ma'am. That's
and
good, 13.
work with 10 universities. And I want to say in our program we have been able to mainstream all the SDGs, with the exception of SDG 9, in terms of all our programs. Of course, there are higher education programs, masters and PhD programs that are fully sponsored. We have a program in agriculture, which of course is helping with SDG 1 and 2. One-third of our students are female, so we try to ensure gender balance in terms of protecting the climate, protecting the seas and water and forest and biodiversity and all that. We have a program around biodiversity, we have a program around human security, we have a program in adapted land use, and economics and all sorts, and climate change. Thank you very much.
No, I'm going to go back. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Well, in as much as...
Sorry, that's the general rule now. I'm not going to be repeating it. Your name and the student affiliation and your intervention.
Thank you, sir.
All within 1 minute. So if you
My name is
10 seconds.
Professor S.G. Ado from Al-Qalam University, Katsina. I'm the Vice Chancellor. I would like to talk on the intervention regarding food security. The issue of food security requires quality research. I remember when the Executive Secretary, when the Chairman of the Executive Secretary, National University Research and Development Fair was established in Nigeria. And a competition among the universities for research was set up. Unfortunately, I don't know how it continued, but up to now, on development of new varieties, none was coming from universities, mainly from research institutes. And for us to obtain food security, there must be quality inputs. If there is no quality seed, then there cannot be good harvest, and the yield will be low. So quality research and development, or research for development, should be part of what should be considered in order to attain the sustainable development as far as food security is concerned, or in countries, food self-sufficiency. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, Vice Chancellor, and well done on the excellent work you are doing in your university. Yes, please.
I am Fidel Okobi from the National Open University of Nigeria. Our contribution in that case is providing access at cost-effective for all learners who have the aspiration to have a higher education. You discover that in most cases, the conventional university cannot absorb all the students or all the applicants. The only way out to make this education accessible to these applicants is to make the education open through open university. And I employ most of the countries to embark on that, to provide access for their populace.
Thank you so very much, National Open University of Nigeria. We are done with this block, then let's move to this block. Yes. Sorry, sir, you are coming from the back.
Okay, my name is Henry Kapalo from National Council for Higher Education. I want to speak
Which one? There are about
National
15.
Council for Higher Education in Namibia.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I really want to speak from a personal experience, the hunger issue. Now, let me tell you this story. My grandmother was a queen mother. She took care of us when we were 17. She fed us. She took us to school. She paid our fees. One of my cousins, two of my cousins, they are medical doctors. She did not have the benefit of this Western education. She did not have the benefit of attending these international conferences. She did not have the benefit of hearing the Millennium Development Goals. She did not have the benefit of hearing SDGs. She did not have the benefit of any policy that says empower women. When she was old, she was asking one of us, why don't you leave what you are doing to come and develop and continue with the legacy?
Yeah, can you wrap up
now? Why I'm saying this is, what is it that we that have had the benefits of all these nice things, the policies, the whatever, what is it that we can do to make sure that we end only but one thing, hunger?
Okay, thank you very much. The only way is when we go for coffee break very soon. In about 15 minutes, we are going to end hunger. That's 400% on SDG number 2. Yes, madam.
Yeah, I'm Josephine Arasa from Kenya, but specifically from United States International University. My comment here is on SDG 4, specifically quality education for persons with disability. For the whole week that we've been here, I don't think I've had anybody addressing education, quality education for persons with disability.
So we're waiting for this session.
Yes, yeah, that's why I'm speaking. So what we've done in East Africa and especially in Kenya, and I believe most of you have done, is that we've first developed guidelines for quality education for persons with a disability. And then from there, we've come up with a policy that is supposed to guide the provisions, services, and care, not necessarily care, education for persons with disability from admission to graduation and everything about the university. And so anytime your program needs to be accredited, you must show in all those aspects what it is that you're going to do to promote quality education for persons with disability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So coming up for actually more people that okay,
my name is Michael Above from Lagos State University in Nigeria. Political will is the most important thing I consider to be essential for the attainment of the SDGs. Our leaders, political leaders, must have that political will to achieve it. Once there's a political will, I'm sure we can attain up to 25% of this. In my university, the most preferred university in Nigeria, yes, we have ensured that our fees are cheap enough for students to be able to acquire at least a first degree. So Lagos State has the largest population in West Africa, and I think second in the whole of Africa. So many of the young people have opportunity for education in Lagos. So the fees is cheap. So we are achieving the fourth SDG very easily. Employability. We are running currently seminars, workshops for all our students to attain skills, computer skills, employability skills, contemporary skills to be able to get jobs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michael. Yeah, madam, you didn't raise your hand before. I'm going to move very quickly now because I'm going to, let me identify those who will now speak. After you, we have 1, 2, 3. And then 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. Yes.
My name
4 minutes each, please.
Okay, my name is Ubah Muhammad Ali. I came from Somaliland Ministry of Education and Higher Education. The Millennium Development Goals, we have achievement 2. One is education. We have equal access for boys and girls. We achieved it already. And we have work and peace. We achieved it for that. The witness is the professors. She going to Somaliland. She has seen the workplace and peace, and we achieved it already. That's the access for the Millennium Development Goals.
Thank you, madam. That's all time you have. Yes, behind there. So please, 1 minute.
My name is Professor John Odile from Delta State University, Africa.
Yeah, you are also Delta State University. I only want one voice from Delta State.
Yes, when you asked how much percentage you think we are going to achieve, and we were saying less than 1, 2, I was worried. Because it means that there is no hope. We have come here to learn. We are not thinking that the knowledge is going to impact our achieving the Millennium Development Goals.
Let me just, I'm sorry, sir, I should give you your full time. There's a regression model. You see, when the weatherman comes forward and tells you that it will rain next week, the weatherman is not God. But what the weatherman has done is to plug into a regression equation what has been happening in the past, trend analysis, and then be able to project, my friend, what we have done, what they are saying, they are no fools, I'm not a fool too, is that Africa, we did MDGs, just finish that one, nothing happened. And you have not seen a major significant shift in political will and other things. So that's why we are saying...
Yes, Prof, I understand. But my worry comes from the point of commitment. Unless we here are committed, I don't think much will be done. I'm aware that our leaders, they have listening ears. You see, from my experience as Director of Quality Assurance, I am guided by one principle. One, knowing what my Vice Chancellor wants and where he wants us to go. And then two, I make sure I minimize the issue of finance in my proposals and programs. And the little I've done in the university have really helped to move the university. Probably my Vice Chancellor appreciates it. So I am saying that if we have commitment and then look at the direction government is going and have good proposals, we are likely to succeed. I want to equally note briefly that our government has seen our universities as not contributing to national development. And they might be thinking they won't be funding the universities. So we must create rules to make our impact felt. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Yes. Deputy Vice Chancellor, Delta State.
No.
Who says no? This is the Senate of Delta State.
Professor
Approved?
No. Professor Peter Eroto, just representing the Vice Chancellor. As a student in Ahmadu Bello University in the 60s, we were able to produce food, enough eggs, and you name it. The challenge of all faculties of agriculture, I'm a professor of agronomy. Delta State University, Faculty of Agriculture, can produce oil for everybody. You see, forestry, we have arable crops, we have the land. The basic funding is not there, and we need cooperation from the government. You know, I'm a rice breeder. I'm a rice breeder. When they want to do anything from the state government, they go other places. The man there is there, the specialist is there. They bypass me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Dr. Osman from the University of Khartoum. I think we are developing Africa, that we are keeping well. At least we are in a frame of Millennium Development Goals as a practice, and then we can develop to achieve. I have a working paper on the issue of this and application of Africa. So regarding the important issues, we need integrations, we need participations, and we need prioritizations. And we need to be involved heavily in all governmental arms and international communities. The experience of University of Khartoum had been heavily involved in peacemaking and even at ministerial levels. So the Minister of External Affairs from the University of Khartoum and two women Ministers of Higher Education and Minister of Science and Technology are women, and all of them from the University of Khartoum. Also, the university has been involved in the capacity building and establishment of health centers, and we have many centers of excellence which produce health services and research, advanced research to achieve the Millennium Development.
Thank you very much. Yes. So the last two, just the last two. Not okay, yourself and then, we can't, I said, okay, fine. Yes, 1 minute, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Violet Makuku, Association of African Universities. I think there are some things which may also seem beyond our control for the existing generations, because if you look at it, issues of governance, issues of accountability and transparency are into play. But in the African continent, we seem to have a blind eye on these things, and we sketch around some other issues. But I feel that if we don't make sure we try in the curriculum to put in these values in the upcoming youth who are going to be the future generation too, we will continue to have the same threads of all these ills that are bedeviling our continent. High levels of corruption and all these other things where there is no monitoring and evaluation. Can I say something just small to tell you that in other former colonies, when you were a ministry, you were not given a budget before you account for the previous budget. But now, even as a university, you are given a budget to say we are doing agriculture, we are doing this. Nobody will ask you to say, where did you put the money? So monitoring and evaluation also is very critical from the lowest level to the highest level. Ioannis tell them at the African Union Commission, the president.
Cameroon, 1 minute.
Yes, people have lost their earphones, so I'll retry in English. I'm here since 2 years from now. I've tried to do something from my own in my university.
Can you introduce yourself, sir?
My name is Nanfoso. I'm Vice Chancellor of the University of Cham in Cameroon. I've tried in building 4, let's say, organs, 4 institutions. First, I've created an incubator center for my students in order to train them create their own enterprise. And it is very successful. Second, I've created an institutional funds to support the research of my people. I've put there 100 million CFA francs. Third, I've created a private company owned by the university, a private company that is with a private director and all this, in order to make university get some money. And lastly, I've created a foundation of the university, and I bring a lot of people, private people, donors, in my university one day, and we succeed in collecting 150,000 million CFA francs.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so there's the last person there.
Joseph Wakwa is the name.
Yes, sir.
From the Federal University of Technology, Akure.
Yes,
the best university of technology in Nigeria.
Oh, yes, of course.
How have we been able to address these issues in attaining some aspect of the SDG? Well, the first will be on meteorology. We have the only Department of Meteorology in West Africa, and we are in collaboration with the British Meteorological Station, and of recent we got a grant worth 7.8 million euro with a British Meteorological Station, along with some other research stations in Europe. On issue of no poverty, that's the first one. We have upgraded our department of our School of Agriculture to have what they call a Directorate of Farm Services that will take care of both teaching and research issue on agriculture as well as production aspect. That is commercial farming. We were also able to tackle the issue of affordable clean energy, number 7, being a University of Technology. We collaborated with University of Delaware, and we have on our campus a net zero energy building. That is, doesn't depend on any energy from just only on solar. But more importantly, there's something good. We need very strong institution.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Now, Professor Fuakwe is the new Vice Chancellor of what he has labeled the best University of Technology in Nigeria, Federal University of Technology, Akure. We wish you a very, very, very successful tenure. And when Professor Saliu is measuring Vice Chancellors at the end of 5 years in terms of their success of the university attaining SDGs, excuse me, I'm sure you'll be number 1. So that brings us to the end of this symposium on the role of higher education institutions in Africa in attaining the SDGs. I must apologize that I wanted to run it for 1 hour, although program as 1.5 hours, but we are doing it in 1 hour 15 minutes, and I think it's time very well spent. We have been able to listen to members of our panel from Ghana, from Sudan, from Lesotho, from Nigeria, from Mozambique, and from Zimbabwe, and Burundi, and from many of you here, sharing your thoughts with us on how your institutions or how your countries are inching forward towards attaining in 2030 the SDGs. What I think we must do, and that will spill over to one session that will come up after tea break, is that we should now begin to ask for documentation of good practices in universities under the umbrella of Professor Shabani's organization, ICU. Ask for good practices. All the ones who have had it, let us document them and be able to share with others within Africa and outside of it, that so that it's not only the bad stories that we'll be hearing. Just like Dr. Yohane said, let us be optimistic. Let us keep pushing our political leaders that are not now able to muster the requisite political will to support us and support the entire country in attaining the SDGs. Let us continue to have the students not to go on strike, and no need to respond to it. All he said is that you should not go on strike. I'm not going to tell them to go on strike. And that we should be pragmatic. We should be pragmatic to the extent that we'll focus on those elements of skills or literacy. I'm quoting you now, Johannes, on literacy, lifelong learning, on peace, that will be the enablers for attaining all of the SDGs. So, as I close, let me give you the challenge that before you get home, either you're traveling by road or by camel or by air or sea, try to learn the 17 SDGs. So that when somebody sees you, say you are a professor, say you are a vice chancellor, and they're asking you about SDG number 1, and you are wobbling your feet, it's not good enough. So let us all try that we have attended this SDG conference, and by the time we are leaving, you say SDG number 1 is this, number 2 is this, number 3 is this, and all of that. So thank you all very much, and that brings us to the end of this symposium. And as I said, we are programmed for you a 4-element conference, and this is one major element of it. Thank you.